Man, it has been a while.
A lot has happened, I think, since we've last recorded.
A ton. For one, we got a short with 10,000 views.
Woo!
Very, very proud of that. Let's go us. Thanks to our editor.
Well, that was the Wi-Fi short, right?
It was the short about Wi-Fi. People were pretty interested to learn that Wi-Fi can see through walls.
Plus, shout out to Naz. Great editing.
Great editing.
Great editing.
Fantastic.
Just before this podcast, we were having a chat about some of the people and how, you know, it's kind of famously around Silicon Valley to some degree, politics, Elon Musk.
There's a lot of personalities in Silicon Valley.
There's a lot of personalities, somewhat narcissistic, shall we say, a little self-indulged. And the first thing to come into my mind, I've just been listening to an episode of Lex Fridman with a dinosaur expert, a paleontologist.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
And one of the things he brought up was what's called an honest tell, where if animals often intentionally disable themselves in some way to demonstrate how strong they are. They say, if I can be dominant and have these terrible extra feathers on my wing, or if I can be dominant and have this coat that makes me extra
So it's
hot.
like a guy saying, I'll beat you with one hand behind my back.
Yes,
Okay.
exactly that.
Interesting.
It's and I wonder if there's not some kind of case of honest tell or capability behind that narcissism as well, where you're signaling to everyone else that I'm exceptional and I can be a dick and still be in charge.
I feel that. And I feel like I sometimes do some things that might make me seem like that. So for example, I'll be like lazy about meetings. Here's an example that I legitimately feel bad about. I didn't want to meet an investor in person. He gave me a couple locations, but I saw it was going to be a 40-minute Waymo. And I was like,
40-minute Waymo is...
40-minute Waymo is kind of bad.
That's a long Waymo.
It was also a high traffic time. If it was like a low traffic time, it would have been 20 minutes, but he picked like 5 p.m.
Yep.
So I made him come to my house. Not inside, because I guess that's a major faux pas. I didn't know. But... to a coffee place next door.
Okay, I was going to say, so you made him sit outside your house and you just stood at the door?
Funnily enough, he was like, I'll stand outside because, it's true. It's weird. It kind of twists the brain a little bit. Investors should not go to a founder's house, probably, right?
Interesting. Do you think, you really?
I think after they invest, maybe, but before they invest, there's the implication.
I see. Okay, interesting. The afterwards, I was just thinking of my favorite investors. You end up becoming fairly friendly with, and I'll gladly have them over for dinner. You know,
that kind of sure.
And so at that point, it was like, what are you talking about? Not going to your house, but
yeah, it's really towing the line. I feel like investors are very friendly. What's happened in the past 10, 15 years, I think, is that investors have become more founder friendly. Becoming founder friendly is actually important, and there really aren't that many that I'm aware of as many kind of hostile investor takes company from founders. That's just seen as you don't do that. The founders are going to bring the most value of the company while they're at the company. There's almost never a reason to remove them. So this mindset was definitely not always there. People removed Elon, among others. CEOs used to be removed quite often.
Yeah, and now they're begging him to come back.
Yeah, now they're like, oh, as soon as we get the founding team back.
Yeah.
Reddit's have you ever seen the history of Reddit?
Oh, only loosely. I mean, I've been on Reddit myself for 14 years or something.
Really?
So I guess you could call that a history of Reddit to some degree.
The founders of Reddit, at different points in time, left and then came back. It's this really weird. I believe there are 3 founders, and there are 4, and then unfortunately Aaron was sued and that whole shebang.
An ad hoc story. That's insane. And then the remaining 3 founders, you're saying each of them at some point had no longer been part of the company?
Yeah, they kind of left and came back. Maybe we can pull up a graph. Because I think there are graphs online, but they left, came back, blah, blah, blah. And the company became quite valuable.
Yeah, eventually. It took it a heck of a long time.
It took a long time. Reddit was a weird one. Reddit was the first of the weird internet companies, or one of the first.
Yeah, the really strange ones that were actually successful, because of course there was the .com boom.
Every social media site seems like such a unicorn. I really feel like the word unicorn belongs to them, you know, not to like somebody who gets $1 billion pre-seed, which is like a thing that happens now, but like belongs to because didn't wasn't there like Ilya raised 3 billion, right?
I can't remember.
Can't remember. Oh my gosh,
it happens every week. It seems it's incredible.
Somebody raises a ton of money.
You know what? Honestly, that's reminded me. I reckon the true Silicon Valley honest tell is actually the outfit.
Really?
You know, just thinking, not necessarily Ilya himself, just thinking about these types of people and you picture them, they're not in a suit. They're wearing like maybe a hoodie, honestly.
Yeah.
Definitely a t-shirt, plausibly shorts.
Plausibly shorts. Got no pants on.
And as a, you know, I think as to some degree an honest tell, it's like, I don't need to dress like that. In fact, it is better that I'm comfortable.
Yeah. Getting back to the ego attitudes of Silicon Valley. The thing is, though, but founders, you know, you can't tell if it's ego or if it's somebody who's really locked in. I'd love to be the person who's really locked in, but sometimes it's like, am I being lazy right now? You know?
Yeah.
One thing I found personally is that the more you make the decisions where you make somebody uncomfortable actually do kind of like form you in some way, in a weird way, because like I felt guilty about making an investor come to my place, about not driving out. That made me work harder that night. It made me be like, okay, well, you got that time, you should be doing something with it. So I think it was influential in a good way.
Yeah, interesting.
I feel like I make this decision literally like every day because people always want to get coffee or whatever, and you choose location. And you get to choose a little bit further, a little bit closer. I don't know. What are some ego crazy people you've met? Or not, who are they? But what are some crazy things?
I definitely think the outfits is a choice. In fact, I've seen people intentionally flex the crappiness of their outfits and like wear funny things and be like, no, it'll help. I've seen older devs have like a ponytail and say, you know how much money this ponytail earns this company? Like if I walk into a meeting, they know the serious dev is there. You know, the cracked old guy who knows absolutely everything.
Fair enough. Graybeards.
The graybeards, indeed.
Yeah.
I guess it's an OG sign of things to some huge degree.
Absolutely.
The graybeard itself as a tell.
Who is like the first to really own that ponytail? It was definitely like there was a point in time where engineers there was a larger percentage with ponytails. I feel was Woz the first ponytailed engineer of note? I don't know. Nobody's gonna know that.
Another exciting thing has happened in the last week. The new iPhone has been released.
Yes, the slim iPhone. Have you seen this ridiculous graphic where it's like 5.5 millimeters versus 6.5 millimeters, and then the camera shots out like 30 millimeters? Oh my gosh.
The thinnest point is an important caveat on there. But the engineering, if we were to get to some of the electronics being it, like you think about what actually goes into that. One, I'm a little bit disappointed we couldn't, before this episode, get our hands on one, X-ray one, or tear it apart, which would be a fun thing to do
Absolutely.
sometime. But if you look at, for example, I'm wearing my Apple Watch, you can see how big this thing is. Now, this includes the battery too, but the electronics that they're just cramming into that iPhone, have you seen? It's literally just a little bar atop there they call the little plateau thicker bit, you know. It's not too dissimilar in board area to an Apple Watch, for example, or the Ultra at least, which is amazing, right? They've crammed in there a really fantastic camera by most accounts, plus all of the front-facing LiDAR, face scanning, Face ID, for Face ID, and this new front-facing camera, plus full LTE, phone, Wi-Fi, top-of-the-line processor, thermals, etc., on a board that's, you know, probably something on the order of like, off the top of my head, probably like 300 square mil, something like that. It's really small.
Yeah, it's pretty impressive. So when you make a board slimmer, like do they have stacked PCBs inside of this? I've never seen an iPhone teardown. I wonder if we can look up an iPhone teardown.
Oh yeah.
What
I'm sure jerry rig everything's pulling them apart.
So what yeah, like do they what is how is it harder to make a board slimmer? Because when I think of the PCB, I feel like it's screen technology that is
when you say you mean thinner for the slimmer, you mean including the component height, or
Yeah. Like what makes it difficult? Why is shrinking in millimeters so difficult? What's really like if I had to break it down, and I'm just guessing, there's three things. There's like the battery. Shoving the battery in there
Yes.
is really intense. And I believe in the Max, they actually have like multiple batteries that are kind of shimmied together with different sizes.
That's crazy.
Maybe I'm crazy. But uh yeah, what's the hardest part to shrink? That's what I'm wondering about.
Well, I'd love to see a video, but if I'm to guess, if I'm to pause it before I get to see it, my money says that there's a limit to the thickness of a battery because there's just some separator materials, the battery case material, that type of thing, that have a minimum thickness for them to be safe and stable. There's going to be limits to the battery casing thickness, for example, to make a safe battery, right? There's limits to the screen thickness, and the other thing is mechanically, a beam stiffness is quartic with respect to its thickness, right? It's proportional to its thickness cubed. And so if you take off, if you halve the thickness of something, you're taking actually an eighth of its stiffness and strength in bending.
Oh, I see. So this thing's gonna get really fragile.
So the wall, yeah. So you have to make sure you can't thin the back and the front glass out because they actually need to be stiffer in order to keep the strength and stiffness of the phone.
Yeah.
And so you're just purely taking it out of the guts, and the screen's not getting any thinner, right? So you're pulling it down and down and down until the battery can't get any thinner because the casing and the separator can't get any thinner. It's one layer already, or could be, for argument's sake. It's not, but it could be. And then the minimum thickness of a PCBA, right? Like you're already engineering that down to the board thickness plus components load out on both sides. You just squeeze and squeeze and squeeze. So what they've done is they've just snipped the PCB. It's just a bar that's just that big at the end, and then the rest is all battery.
Wow.
It's just board under the plateau. They've just actually deleted the board from most of the thickness, which is why it's thinner.
Whoa, so you're saying under the plateau, there's no substrate. There's no
Under the plateau there is, everywhere else there isn't.
Right. So
Yeah.
in the part of the iPhone with the camera,
Yes.
there's going to be substrate, there's going to be your PCB. That's like it. That's like, it's basically like an Apple Watch, and then the rest of it is just battery?
Exactly.
Whoa.
Which is cool. Like, that's why I want to tear it down.
That's crazy.
And it's amazing that they've squeezed what is an incredibly powerful computer. Like we're talking about a serious computer in any modern phone, right?
Yeah.
Plus LTE, Wi-Fi, full camera, 2 cameras actually, the LiDAR into something that's 300 square millimeters. So it's like, at a guess, about 3 centimeters by 1, which is like an inch and a bit by under half an inch for you Americans. It's tiny, incredible engineering that goes into this. And I would love to see things like the board thickness, the layers, the layer thickness between layers, all of that type of stuff to actually manufacture a PCBA like that. And then, when you're Apple, they were at one point, for example, embedding resistors into the PCBA stack up or doing them in copper, just making a really thin, well-tuned piece of copper to create a custom resistor in the board, because that way you don't have to put a component on top, and that saves you space.
Yeah, that's crazy. Oh my gosh. Wow. I never thought about that. It's basically an Apple Watch, with just a big battery underneath. Crazy. That's pretty cool. So you're going to get one, and then
Well, I'm going to get the Pro because I want a really nice camera. But
yeah, fair enough. Yeah.
No, awesome.
Hey, I do have trouble understanding the appeal of the Air a little bit. Yeah, because I do want my phone. I guess I look at my phone a lot. I mean, maybe it appeals to people who are a little bit more minimal with their phones. They're almost trying to get away from their phone, so they want it to be lighter or something. But like, why would you want a thinner phone?
I couldn't quite work that out, which is why I went with the Pro. But speaking to one of my friends who does work at Apple, and he's had one for a little bit longer than they've been released.
Yeah.
So I didn't know about that earlier, but when it was released, I told him, I said, I'm tossing up between the Pro and the Air. And he said, look, let me spend a week with my phone now, and I'll tell you what it feels like. And he said it's just amazing. It's just it's just like a weird, fun object to hold that has properties that don't feel like should go in your hand that way.
Yeah, it feels futuristic because it's so light.
Yeah.
I feel that. Yeah. It's like the iPad getting a little bit thinner. I actually did kind of understand that. An iPad is kind of heavy and it feels like something, you know, it feels like a laptop or something. When things get heavier, they're also a little bit more fragile in some ways because
yes.
they're heavier when they get dropped.
Yes,
And
more load on impact.
yeah. And a weird thing I just discovered, you ever like, you know, you have your phone above your head in bed and then you drop it and you hit yourself in the head?
Yeah.
I got a puppy and she's really, really small. She's like 7 pounds fully grown. She's like a purse dog.
Did you?
No, I've never dropped it, but I just, everything around me feels like a lethal, like every glass cup on a table feels like a lethal object now. So I'm always like looking at things, like I'm always shifting things away from corners.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, I would like it if iPads were lighter.
Wait till you have kids, mate.
Yeah, right.
It's good practice.
Baby, yeah. Although they come out like 7 pounds, so they could probably take a couple hits to the noggin. But no, I kid. Yeah, it's so interesting.